it's Kira and welcome back to my channel. So today I have a rant video of the Chivies Trilogy by Ryan and Lifton. This will be a spoiler-filled review, so if you have not read the books, please don't watch this, or if you just don't care, go ahead and watch it. First of all, I am so sorry to my friend Mollie. She is the one who lent me these books in the first place. She read them in middle school and they are one of her favorite books. They're one of her favorite series, and I was texting her constantly all of the little things that I found wrong with this book. So, Mollie, I'm really sorry. But, having said that, I have a lot of problems with these books. So, well, let's talk about the good things first. The plot is so good for these books. Like, as much as I didn't like the writing style and didn't like everything, like all these little details, the plot was so good and it pulled you in, and I really enjoyed seeing where it went, and it did surprise me a little bit at how it ended, the whole trilogy, and yeah, so it really has that going for it, that the plot is spectacular. That being said, I hated the writing style so much. I didn't notice how much I hated it until I was getting to the second book and into the third book, and I was just like, I'm dragging my feet reading these books. It was just too simple. It was just like, they go here, here's what it looks like. They do this, here's what happens. It just had no like storytelling elements. I feel like this series was really missing a storytelling element to it. It was just like a very like matter of fact, which the prologue for the first book, where it explains how the world is back to swords and horses and all of that stuff, like how the virus happened and then the nuclear wars and everything, I found that very good. Like, I feel like the matter of fact tone worked for the prologue in The Sword. Like, it made sense because you're just like, okay, here's what happened. People were panicking, how we kind of declined, how religion got all whack. Like, that all makes sense. But for the story of them like traveling throughout these different lands, it just didn't work for me. It just bugs me so much. Like, there was no like pretty descriptions, like hardly ever in these books. It was really interesting because I was reading them at the same time that I was reading Strange the Dreamer, which if you've read Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, that has like the most beautiful flowery writing. So it's very different from these books. So one of the things that bothered me the most about all of them, but kind of especially in The Kingdom, is this whole like Anastasia being so smart and helpful and like being able to save Teo, but Teo just like trying to save her all the time. And it also happened a lot in The Gift, where she's like in trouble and Teo has to come and save her. And there are moments where she saves herself, which was fun and good, but it just felt like overwhelmingly it was Teo like always saving her at the last second. And part of me is like, okay, that's how it's supposed to be because, you know, as Christians we want the man to be the one who is able to like take care of us and save us and, you know, be the head of the family, that kind of thing. But also part of me is like, but Anastasia is not helpless. Like, she's able to do things, but I feel like she didn't fully get a chance to shine in her full abilities for like fighting and for outsmarting people. I don't know, there was just like some sort of weird imbalance of that I didn't really like. Something that bothered me, especially in The Kingdom, was just the way that they talked. I don't know what it was, but Teo and Anna's like banter, I feel like just went downhill in this book. I feel like in the first book it was so good. In The Sword, when they're like first meeting each other and they're like being witty with each other and like bantering back and forth, being sassy and all that, like I feel like it worked so well. But I think maybe because there was the romantic tension and they like wanted to be together, and I don't know, it was just something weird about The Kingdom and how they talked. And at one point Anna's talking to him and she's like, you shouldn't do this. And then Teo goes, well, you only live once. And I'm like, did you seriously just say YOLO in a book? Like, I know that this is written in 2012, but please can we not do that? Like, it was just a tiny thing that kind of bugged me. Like, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it's like, you seriously just said YOLO. Like, really? Something that made me a little bit annoyed was the first book, how much of it lays the groundwork for the second two. Like, I understand that the world has to expand in the first two. That's usually how it goes in trilogies, is that like you lay the groundwork in the first book, and then in the second book you really get to expand, in the third you kind of bring it all together. But I don't know, it was just so much groundwork that had to be laid for the next two to make sense. And I just wish it had been like shorter, or there had been less of it. Like, the problem is that I felt like a lot of it was necessary, that you needed to understand how Chivies worked and how the High Priestess had everybody under her thumb with religion, and how she was able to tighten the noose with that. But it's just like, I don't know, it just made me kind of annoyed, and I struggled through this one, because I'm like, it's really, like, all this stuff is happening, but like, where's it gonna go? And Mollie's like, you just gotta keep reading, I promise this is laying groundwork. Which it was, but I just wish there had been less of it. I don't know. Another thing that bugged me, I didn't know where stuff was taking place until, like, I realized when I started reading book 3 that there was an appendix in the end where that tells you where everything is. Like, why was that not in the beginning? Like, I appreciated the map, so there are maps throughout these books, right? And so, like, I appreciate that, like, I can kind of, like, figure out where we're going and all that, but, like, I didn't know what part of the world we were in, because I knew that we were still, like, on Earth. I didn't really know, like, where we were on Earth, and so, like, I feel like stating that somewhere would have been really nice, like, early in the beginning, like, hey, this is going on in Switzerland, and, I mean, there are places like Roma where you can tell that it's Rome, and, like, in the map it looks like Italy, so you can tell that it's Italy, but, like, I was just so confused throughout the beginning where I was like, I don't actually know where this is taking place. Okay, so I think that's all I have to say about these books. They are really interesting, and if you don't mind kind of crappy-ish writing, or, like, very matter-of-fact writing where it's not very flowery, please go pick these up. These actually are really interesting books, even though I just ranted about them for like 5 minutes or whatever, but they are actually really cool. But yeah, so if you still want to pick these up, go for it. If not, I understand. Mollie, I'm so sorry that I didn't like your favorite series. So that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to follow me on social media, all my links are in the description as always. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!